contributed in many unsaid ways to many, many films like Love, Sex or Dhoka and Titli, with a tremendous cast and a tremendous workshop, a preparation for the actors, which gives the director what he needs.
Thank you.
सर थोड़ा शिफ्टिंग हुआ है सर ये सर थोड़ा चिल डाउन नीचे कीजिए प्लीज सर ये थैंक यू सर सर थोड़ा सा लिटिल लिया सर लुकिए सर थोड़ा चिल डाउन कीजिए प्लीज सर लुकिए
Thanks for coming, and I've never done this for my own films, but this is a film that I'm not directing, this is a film that I'm producing, and I've been very careful that I don't treat somebody else's film with the same negligence that I treat mine. And indeed, it's a very different kettle of fish altogether to produce a film than to direct a film. I've produced most of my own films till date, but that's necessity. But this time, the decision to produce Titli was out of choice and out of certain compulsions, which we'll talk about if those questions ever come up. And that's about it. Very happy to talk about a film which I'm not directing, so I can be shameless plugging it. And I would like to call first Kanu Behel, the director of the film. And he will talk to you a bit about his film, and then he will take it on from there. And while I'm calling Kanu here on the stage, I would also like to call Guneet Monga of Sikhya Entertainment, who's a very important part of Titli's presence in Cannes, and she will be talking about it. And she is a person who probably also does not need any introduction to film business watchers, and she's one of the pioneers who've made roadways into Cannes with Indian films. And a lot of the international distributors and marketers all over the world today equate Guneet with a prospector of gems who will take gems from India and present it to the international audience. So more about that later. I'll give the mic to Kanu. He'll talk about the film, and then maybe you'll get a glimpse of the trailer.
Yeah, so we'll do this later. We'll come back to this. So yeah, just quickly about the film. It's a film about a guy called Titli. It's a film about three brothers and a father and a young girl who comes into the house. It's about this young boy's journey of wanting to escape from this violent, oppressive brother, and what he does on that journey. He plots, plans, lies, cheats, does all sorts of things to get out of this house and get away from these people that he hates. But on that journey, slowly, he starts becoming exactly like the people he hated most. And it's about what he does with that realization as it hits him. It's about family, it's about patriarchy, and it's about these five people. So I think, yeah, let's get a look at the trailer.
My question to the director here, towards your right. Your protagonist is a male, right?
Yeah.
So why Titli?
Uh, I have no idea actually. I've been asked this question a couple of times now. There's in retrospect. So the honest answer is it's not thought of. It's not something that we actively thought of. But in retrospect, since I've been asked this question a couple of times, it's a film about patriarchy. It's a film about how men behave with women, and there's this young boy who's trying to break away from these patterns that he feels run within the family. So I think just a slightly feminine name probably just instinctively made us fit the character well, me and my co-writer Sharat. The other slightly funny reason is that I'm called Kanu. So a lot of my friends have said that, you know, maybe that's why his name is Titli, because I have a slightly feminine name. So maybe that's the reason.
Dibakar, why did you choose to be the producer?
I I really don't know, because quite frankly, it's task enough for me to kind of produce my own films. That takes all my life and all my strength. I mean, at night I come back home drained from the experience of producing and directing my own film. But Kanu was very clear. We were working together from Oe Lucky. Then he co-wrote Love, Sex or Dhoka with me. And after that, it was a kind of an unwritten thing on the wall that when Kanu's first film comes up, I would produce it. Though I am not the kind of director, producer who goes on to produce a lot of films for the people who worked with him. I am not. Anurag is, and Vishal is. I have enough of issues with my own films, and I can't really handle too many films. So when Kanu came to me with his supposedly first film script, and we both sat down on it, we kind of knew that we would be doing it. But that script we decided that we would not. And then Kanu went back. He was supposed to assist me on Shanghai, but he did not. He went back and wrote another thing and came back to me with Titli. And that is when I read the first draft of Titli, that is when I realized that short of directing it myself, the next best thing that I can do is, first of all, my first reaction was to be able to direct it. I didn't know how to tell this to Kanu, okay, your first film, why don't you let me direct it, you know. So somehow I wasn't shameless or selfish enough to do that. And then the best thing to do after that is to be associated with it as a producer. So that's what I did. The script really pushed my buttons, you know. It really made me sort of sit up and become jealous and impressed and inspired all of a sudden. I remember some of the most rewarding moments have been the scripting sessions or the creative sessions that Sharad, me and Kanu have sat on while Titli was still a script. And those sessions inspired me in my other endeavors like Bomkesh Bakshi or whatever it is. So for me, it was a very creatively exciting time. That's all I could say.
So it could be said that it's Kanu's baby in totality without no interference of Dibakar.
Well, if a producer interferes, then he probably is committing suicide, because I know, but I'm a producer now, so I can't afford to be a director on someone else's film. You can't backseat drive. If you have decided that you're producing this, if you've had a kind of a consensus on the screenplay, as much of a consensus that you can have between two people, then it is suicidal and fatal to start backseat driving once the director starts. So no, I wasn't really. My job was to see how could we finish the film in the minimum budget possible, how could at the same time give Kanu the best creative comfort that he could have, and all those extremely logistical things. And that came out of my own experience of making my films in the shortest, smallest possible amount that I could. So that's all I did, nothing much.
फिल्म कान में जा रही है तो आप लोग कितने एक्साइटेड हैं और किस कैटेगरी के लिए जा रही है ये फिल्म?
फिल्म कान जा रही है uncertain regard या uncertain regard भी बोलते हैं. It's part of the official selection. So there are two broad categories in the official selection. One is the official competition, and then there's the uncertain regard. So Titli is showing in the A Certain Regard section with 18 other films. So yeah, कान जाने की एक्साइटमेंट अभी तो कुछ एक दो दिन पहले तक तो फिल्म ख़त्म करने में ही लगे हुए थे. काफ़ी सारी मेहनत लगी और अभी सब लोग इसी में ही जुटे हुए थे कि फिल्म जितनी अच्छी बन सके और साउंड मिक्स अच्छा हो सके, जितना अच्छी तरह से फिनिश कर सके, उसी में लगे हुए थे. तो फुली मुझे तो लगता है सिंक इन हुआ नहीं अभी. आई डोंट नो व्हाट यू फील अबाउट इट, हाउ यू फील अबाउट इट.
It's a material how I feel about it. I think, as Guneet will shortly talk about it, is that it's important what we are doing about it. कान जाने से ही खत्म नहीं हो जाती बात. कान ने अब हमको सिलेक्ट किया, वो ठीक बात है, लेकिन कान में पूरी फिल्म से सिलेक्ट की हुई दिग्गज फिल्में आ रही हैं, 40 फिल्में सिर्फ मेन कंपटीशन में, मेन सेक्शन में, जिसमें कनू की फिल्म है. और उस भीड़ में, उस दिग्गजों की भीड़ में, जहां पे बड़ी बड़ी फिल्में, और खुद YRF की हमारे को प्रोड्यूसर की एक और फिल्म है ग्रेस ऑफ मोनाको, उस जैसी फिल्में विद इंटरनेशनल स्टार्स, विद इंटरनेशनल डायरेक्टर्स, वहां पे हम टिमटिमाते हुए ना दिखें, ये एक प्रोड्यूसर की सबसे बड़ी ड्यूटी बन जाती है. क्योंकि वहां पे भी मजमा है और उस मजमे में भी हमको अपने वजूद से खड़ा होकर लोगों को बताना कि हम हैं, हमें देखो. तो वो बहुत मेहनत का काम है. और कान सिर्फ एक फेस्टिवल ही नहीं है, कान एक मार्केट भी है. कान हम इसलिए जा रहे हैं और शौक से, क्योंकि एक तो कान में सिलेक्ट हुए हैं, लेकिन कान में तितली के लिए इंटरनेशनल ऑडियंस और मार्केट के लिए एक बहुत बड़ा दरवाजा है जो खुल जाता है. क्योंकि इंटरनेशनल प्रोड्यूसर्स और डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स कान में इसीलिए आते हैं ताकि उनको कनू बहल जैसी नई आवाज़ें, नए डायरेक्टर्स मिलें जिन्हें वो इंटरनेशनल दर्शकों के सामने रख सकें. और इसके लिए हमने हाथ मिलाया गुनीत से, गुनीत मोंगा, जो अनुराग कश्यप के साथ उन्होंने बहुत सारी फिल्मों को भारत से बाहर फेस्टिवल्स में, मतलब उनको जन्म दिया है, वो माँ है उन फिल्मों की. तो इसीलिए हमने गुनीत से सबसे पहले बात की और हमने कहा कि जिस तरह से आप कान में फिल्मों को प्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं, हम शायद उतना नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि हम इंडियन प्रोड्यूसर्स हैं, हमको बाहर का एक्सपीरियंस उतना अच्छा नहीं है. कम से कम मुझे तो उतना अच्छा नहीं है. और इसलिए सिक्या एंटरटेनमेंट केम ऑन बोर्ड एज कंसल्टेंट्स फॉर द इंटरनेशनल सेल्स एंड मार्केटिंग ऑफ द फिल्म. और आज इस मुकाम पे खड़े हैं कि फिल्म अभी कान में गई भी नहीं है और इससे पहले ही गुनीत हमारे लिए इंटरनेशनल सेल्स रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स उन्होंने हमारी फिल्म को दिलवा दिए हैं, जो खुद उस फिल्म की पैरवी कान में करेंगे. वो इंटरनेशनल सेल्स एजेंट्स पूरे वर्ल्ड के सबसे बड़े और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट सेल्स एजेंट्स में से हैं, जो फिल्म को वहाँ पे पब्लिसाइज करेंगे, फिल्म को वहाँ पे इंडस्ट्री स्क्रीनिंग्स में ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को दिखाएंगे, ताकि तितली वहाँ पे बस फेस्टिवल के 2 दिन प्ले करके वापस ना आए. तितली को इंटरनेशनल ऑडियंस के मुखातिब करने का जितना भी चांस हो, हम उस फिल्म को दे सकते हैं. आई थिंक गुनीत शुड टॉक अबाउट इट मोर देन आई शुड.
So firstly, I have to say that I'm in absolute awe of Yashraj and DPP and Dibakar who have produced this film. मैं बस एक थोड़ा सा एक चीज़ कहना चाहती हूँ जो मेरे साथ आज भी और ज़िंदगी भर रहेगी. आज से 1 साल पहले दिबाकर टोल्ड मी अबाउट तितली एंड ऑल ही सेड, मैं शायद ज़िंदगी में पता नहीं कितनी फिल्में बनाऊँगा, बट जो भी मैं फिल्म बनाऊँगा ना, आई जस्ट वांट कि वो सबसे अच्छी फिल्म हो, और उसके बाद अगर मैं ना रहूँ तो आई विल बी एट पीस कि मैंने वो पिक्चर प्रोड्यूस की. सो उतनी शिद्दत से एंड उतनी मेहनत से when I saw Titli in October, November, and I have to say कि जो भी मेरा वजूद है और जो भी मुझे knowledge है, this is by far the best film that I have seen, and I am in absolute awe. So it's completely my pleasure to do this and to introduce Titli in Cannes to our partners, to people who I have met over the last 5-6 years. हम लोग वहाँ पिछले 3 साल से मैं फिल्म्स के साथ वहाँ जा रही हूँ, एंड स्लोली हमने एक मार्केट इंडियन फिल्म्स के लिए खड़ी की है, एंड वो इंडियन लैंग्वेज फिल्म्स हैं. हम पूरी दुनिया में we are all under one category, which is foreign language films. English language के बाहर हम लोग सब foreign language हैं, चाहे वो Chinese film है, Korean film है, Italian, Iranian, any film, Singapore film, or Indian film, Hindi language film. So हम लोग सब foreign language category में हैं, and हम लोग काफ़ी सारे हैं, and हम लोग बहुत and somewhere internationally foreign film community is regarded as filmmakers who value the art of filmmaking. मतलब हम लोग कुछ बहुत ज़्यादा competition है, and for worldwide, and out of that Titli is in the main section of Cannes, and हमारे partners हैं West End Films from UK and XYZ from US, XYZ Films. इन दोनों ने बहुत सालों से बहुत अच्छा काम किया है बाकी दुनिया में. They are representing Titli, and the way and it was actually our dream, of all our independent filmmakers' dream, to have a film represented by a big studio, a big producer in India, and go to Titli, and go to Cannes in the main section and be represented by the best in the world. अब आगे क्या होगा वो हमें 1 और 10 दिन के बाद पता चलेगा, but in terms of going there and in terms of showing the film, I think Dibakar and Yashraj have left no stone unturned, and it is phenomenal how Titli is represented there. In fact, already काफ़ी publications में Titli is amongst the top 10 films to see in the entire Cannes, and it's a very big deal that we are there amongst the whole world. So the competition is not within India or within peers from here. It is जिन masters की फिल्में देखकर हम देख कर यहाँ तक आए हैं, उन्हीं के साथ Kanu's film is in Titli, which is what is phenomenal.
So Dibakar, first of all, heartiest congratulations that you are representing, your movie is representing Bollywood in Cannes. The way you make your movies, the contents in your movies are really very rich, and the subjects are really very strong. So this time, as you are not directing the movie, so how much influential is this Titli? How much influence is yours name on them, in the movie?
First of all, I would like to disabuse you of one impression that you have. I am not representing Bollywood in Cannes. Neither is Titli. In fact, it is our dream. No, I'm glad that you asked this question. It helps me to sort of clarify the position. It's been my dream, my personal dream, that Indian cinema goes out of India and is presented in the world as Indian cinema, not as Bollywood, which I consider as a subgenre. And in fact, Guneet would sort of, corroborate the fact that Bollywood is a genre that is consumed by a genre market abroad, outside of India. In fact, there is a much larger market for world cinema, and in a way, world cinema from India, which is Indian stories, Indian narratives, Indian way of telling those narratives, without the genre characteristics of Bollywood. And they need not be Hindi. They can be any other language. We have so many languages. And many of those languages have got very thriving and old film industries and traditions. So the market is wide open for any Indian film to go out and present itself to the world, as long as we can manage to tell a story that is original, that is free of stylistic, how shall I put it, stylistic makeup. That's kind of not artificial, that's kind of true to itself. So that's what Titli is. I'm sorry, I'm sort of, just because of that one line, I'm giving such a big explanation. But it's very important to us that Titli is seen as not a Bollywood film. Titli is seen as an Indian film. And more so because one of the biggest Bollywood studios and a small independent producer company have brought it together. It becomes even more of a novel item, where YRF is not really standing on its Bollywood glory to present Titli. YRF is actually presenting Titli as a small gem from India, rather than some big Bollywood extravaganza. That's the new thing about Titli, so that's one thing. My influence on the film? Not really. I think we are all influenced by life. And a small part of Kanu's life has been me because he's worked with me. So whatever influence he has gathered from me, that you'll have to ask him. I can't really influence anyone else's film. I mean, it's not possible. You know, it's not possible to influence someone else's film. You can coerce, you can force someone else to be, you can force your vision into someone else's film. But then the point is defeated. So, no.
Hi, Dibakar. Hello. Yeah, when a film is presented by Yash Raj, it's itself special film. And this time it's Yash Raj Films plus Dibakar Banerjee. So how special Titli is? So double special.
I think Titli would have been as special if, you know, Madurai International Pictures would have produced it. I don't even know if such a production company exists. I'm just saying it as an example of a production company that sounds unlikely. Because we all know Madurai has no film industry, so I'm just saying it. Or Maldives Films International would have produced Titli, and even then, I can assure you, if this was the same film, Khan would have selected it. So the happy chance here is the fact that both DBP and YRF could associate themselves with a film like Titli from India, where we like tagging ourselves, where YRF is tagged as the big Bollywood giant, where DBP or Dibakar is tagged as this indie guy, whereas all we are trying to do is to make a film that is suitably original and makes as much money as possible, right? Ultimately, that's all you want to do. And it's a compromise between the two that defines the result. So I don't think there is any specialty has been added to Titli because of YRF and DBP. Kanu would have made the same film under any circumstances. I think the fact that someone like YRF and someone like DBP, who nobody could have imagined, could have collaborated together, a bit like Imran Hashmi and Abhay Deol acting in a film, which they did. So I think that's the happy coincidence, not a coincidence, that's a happy thing, and I'm proud of bringing that about along with YRF, because DBP probably knows a bit about making a film like Titli while preserving it. But DBP really doesn't know how to call all of you guys together under one platform and tell you about the film. DBP really does not have the wherewithal to completely lay out the whole production and the financial and the PR machinery for Titli to have a smooth run at Cannes. YRF does. When our sales reps see that this small film comes to them from a co-producer who is also the producer of the biggest film of Cannes, which is opening the film festival, then they have a little more respect for us. And this is the synergy where we win, because each one of us is taking a strength and from each other and feeding off each other, and I think that's good for Indian cinema. This is the first of its kind. Nobody expected that this would happen, but I'm hoping that this would become the norm.
Dibakar, you're co-producing this film with YRF, and YRF is known to make Bollywood extravaganzas. So is this an attempt to make offbeat cinema the mainstream in any way? Your decision to co-produce Titli with YRF, is it a decision, is it a conscious decision to make offbeat cinema the mainstream, the new mainstream?
To some extent, yes. I know that whatever film YRF produces, it stands behind it. It never lets a child sink. There are good films, there are bad films, there are average films. But a producer is always good or bad. A producer may make a good film or a bad film or an average film. But a producer's inherent quality to stand behind a film, no matter what, is very important. And that is what I respect of YRF, that it stands behind what it says. Another thing that I've noticed is that YRF loves the business of cinema. And we are probably 1/100 the size of YRF. We also love the business of making films. I may produce Titli today, I may produce Detective Byomkesh Bokshi tomorrow, and I may produce a slapstick comedy 3 years from now if it takes my fancy. But the fact is that I love the business and I love the process of making films. And same for all of us here. I think that's what brings us together.
So,
Well, the film is set now. It's set in in today, and actually it deals with multiple themes. Patriarchy just happens to be one of the strong sort of notes that it hits on. But it's as much a film about family and about the circularity that travels within a family, about the images that travel within a family, how the more we try to escape this one strong image in our family and try to get away physically, the more we actually distance ourselves physically, the more we obsess with increasing that distance, the more we find that that person is deep-rooted within us much more, and how we realize years later that we've almost turned into that same person. So that's one of the central themes of the film. And then there's the patriarchy. There's obviously, we are as a society probably going through that phase of change where the roles of men and women are changing, and the Indian man probably is today struggling against it a little bit, trying to redefine that role and trying to come to grips with where he stands, or you know, how to grip this whole thing. So it's about, ultimately we are talking about four men in a house suddenly put in front of a woman, a new woman inside that house. So yes, their behavior to that girl becomes a part of the equation naturally, but it's not something that I guess what I'm saying is I'm not trying to make a comment on patriarchy. The film is not me trying to tell you something about patriarchy. It's just a story that unfolds with these characters, and they behave in certain ways with each other, which all of us behave in. We have the same patterns, and you just witness this strange, interesting story. And yeah, I mean, I guess I would like people to make whatever they want to make out of it. So I wouldn't want to bracket it as just a film about patriarchy.
Kanu,
Yeah.
for a film which has patriarchy as such an important theme, the star cast has 4 men and just 1 woman. So is that just an irony, or is it like a conscious decision to have just 1 woman? Because, yeah, well, so that's precisely my question. Like, was it a conscious decision to keep just 1 important woman in the entire star cast?
No, I think I'd be giving myself just a little bit too much importance if I said I made a lot of conscious decisions. Truth is, it's an honest sort of document of you know, of our times. It's personal in many ways. It's lived in many ways, and obviously the lived has been a dive boat, and we've moved forward then and fictionalized it and found another story altogether, me and Sharat, as we've gone through the process of discovering the screenplay. That said, yes, I mean, as I just said, it's about 4 men. The choice of those 4 men, again, not conscious. Just to answer your question, not conscious. It probably comes out of personally lived experiences.
So is it an autobiographical film? I mean,
no, it's not autobiographical. It's actually something that Dibakar, you coined an interesting term for it, which was not, it's auto story. It's not autobiographical. It's auto story, as
Did I
you,
say that?
yeah, you said that. So that's I think that's an interesting term, because it starts, as I said, the dive board is certain personal experiences. Growing up in my house as a teenager, I mean, my relationship with my own father, it starts from there, but we wrote the script for a couple of years, me and Sharat, and a lot has, you know, it has moved forward, and it has found itself in those 2 years. We've dug a lot, and we've questioned what we were writing a lot, and initially what we were writing was quite crappy, it was quite bad, and you know, it took us a lot of fighting and a lot of rigor to go back and say, no, this is not there yet, this is not there yet. We need to find more answers. And I think as we've dug and as we found those answers, the film has become an animal of its own. It's a screenplay which is much more than just one personal life. And that's why I think that universality in the screenplay is connecting with a lot of people. So I think that the rigor of the screenplay is sort of showing through. So yeah.
By the way, the co-writer of Titli, Sharad, he's right here. I didn't know that he was going to be here, so please stand up and be counted. He worked for 2 years with Kanu on the script, and he suffered everything that we suffered. So yeah, that's the man behind the screenplay of Titli.
Dibakar, one question. After writing a screenplay, directing, producing, and like almost getting killed by Bunty, what's next on your list? Like, what are you gonna do now after?
You know, I have the most boring answer, and I'll have the same answer when you ask me that 20 years from now, another film. There's nothing else I can do.
So do you have something in mind right
Obviously, how will I put food on my table?
Apart
I mean,
from
that's all.
Vyomkesh, apart from Vyomkesh.
No, that's all. That's all I have right now. I mean, it's too much to think beyond that. Well, that's the million-dollar question that YRF, DBP, and Guneet, we will figure out. Our first aim is to give Titli the full share of spotlight in Cannes. I mean, in the ways and means that Guneet just about touched upon. It's far more than what she's saying. And then we have a plan of taking Titli to further festivals. Guneet will take you through it. And those festivals will determine what are the world markets that are opening up for Titli. Once that process is done, and once we have secured a fair share of the world market, hopefully, then we will discuss and try and see how best we can synchronize the Indian release. But more about that from the expert.
So basically, hello. So basically, Cannes will be the world premiere of the film, and it will also be termed as the world festival premiere of the film. It will also be the European festival premiere. After this, in a short while, we will have a really we will have an American festival premiere, and once we cover these two massive continents with Titli, it will spread out to a lot of more festivals around the world. That will give it a chance for a lot of distributors and cinema lovers from around the world to see it and bring that out. And India release will be in sync with various territory release. And this is a journey that you have to take for the next 3 to 4 months for us to come to a date across the world.
As I said earlier, you know, it's a film that has several themes that it's working on. Patriarchy is just one of them. I think the strongest point of the film is that it's a film about family. All of us have families, whether it's a guy sitting in Japan or it's a guy sitting in Malaysia or in Iceland. Everybody has had a family. Everybody has lived through the close relationships or the closest relationships that the film is talking about. So it's got a bunch of characters who are behaving, talking, looking, not speaking to each other in ways that all of us have done. And I think that is the strongest point of the film. It's talking about people that all of us feel like we know very intimately. That said, that being the central theme, it's then talking about a lot of other things, one being patriarchy, which will connect it to various audiences around the world. For some, patriarchy might be a stronger theme to latch onto. For another person, they might find the relationship between the boy and girl the most interesting thing to latch onto. That might become their mirror to see the film through. But I think the real central universality of the film lies in the fact that it's about a family of 5 people trying to coexist or trying to negotiate this world that they've created together.
YRF because, Adi and I were in talks to do this YRF DBP co-production when the final draft or the middle draft of Titli was there, and for me to be absolutely sure that I was going to produce it. And when I spoke to Adi and we were talking about our slate, I said that there's this film that I'm on fire about and I want to produce it before I produce anything else, including my own film. So, and when he learnt that it was Titli, he was very excited. And that is when we decided that we would start the YRF DBP slate with something as small yet as exceptional and a kind of an outlier like Titli, because it would be a new thing for both of us. And that's how the excitement started. This is not common knowledge, but the script of Titli was known already. It had already found a name for itself. It was quite, everybody was talking about it within the industry, those who knew. Titli was also a part of the NFDC Script Lab, which is a unique product where promising screenplay ideas compete for an extended 3 weeks, 2 weeks workshop.
For about a couple of months, actually.
An extended couple of months workshop where that script is guided by various guides through various stages of completion so that it can explore to the fullest extent its theme. And by the time the NFDC Script Lab finished, by the time Titli as a script was known to a few of the Bombay film industry, we all knew that we had pretty much of a golden sort of, product in hand. And Titli as a screenplay was already known amongst the people who know. Not for the public domain, but amongst the enthusiasts and and that's how Adi had also heard about it. So when I spoke to him about Titli, he had already kind of read a draft of it, he already knew about it, and that's how it started. As I'm saying again and again, Titli found its own life. Nobody had to do anything for Titli to be selected into NFDC Script Lab. Nobody had to do anything for Titli's screenplay to be noticed by people. Nobody had to do anything for Titli to be selected by Cannes Film Festival. They came, they saw the rough cut, and they said they wanted it. So Titli has found its own life, and I'm sure it would have found the same life without DBP and YRF. And I think that's the best strength that you can give to a film, that it can walk on its two legs.
Can you please tell us what is the music about, because we haven't really heard anything about it?
Well, the score is by Karan Gaur, and yeah, I mean there are no songs per se in the film, so it's a background score that you have to hear, and yeah, I mean it sort of sticks with you. That's my opinion, but you have to hear the score, and yeah. So there are 5 principal characters in the film. There are the 3 brothers, Vikram, Bavla and Titli. Vikram is played by Ranveer Shori. Bavla is played by Amit Seal. Titli is played by Shashank Arora. It's a debut for him. And then there's the character of Neelu, who Titli marries in the film. That's played by Shivani Raghuvanshi. That's again a debut. And then there's the character of the father, and that's played by Lalit Behel. And that again is a debut. So out of the 5 principals, 3 are a debut.
Is it somehow related to you?
By the way, Lalit Behel, who's the father of the patriarchal unit in the film, is also Kanu's father. And he apparently was cast for a wonderful cardiac surgery scar on his chest. And we didn't have to spend money for makeup. I'm just kidding. He has the scar that really works for the film. But Kanu's father is an actor and a producer of plays, theatre and television in Delhi. And Kanu kind of forced him into acting as the father. And I think it's a coup, because it really affects you. It really affects you in the way that you didn't imagine it would affect you. Let me warn you, Titli is a film, and I'm being unashamed here, Titli is a film, no matter whether you like it or not like it, Titli is a film that will leave you affected for a long time. So, I mean, it's something to grapple with. It's something to negotiate with, and that's what the cast stands for. I also think it's Ranveer Shori's career best performance. His career best performance, I've said it on record, you can quote me. It is Ranveer Shori's career best performance. He's topped Khosla Ka Ghosla. I'm very proud to say. And I'm also very personally proud that a fine actor like Amit Syal, whose face I showed probably for about 3 minutes in all of Love, Sex or Dhokha. He was a prime protagonist in Love, Sex or Dhokha. But because he was carrying the Sting camera, poor guy's face was never seen. But his presence was felt throughout. So Amit Syal is seen and a fine actor, and you can see what a tremendous actor he is and what a tremendous support he gives to the film. And it is one of the best acted films that I've seen after a long time, where you are not even aware that the actors are acting. But this is the film enthusiast in me talking.